The crystal champagne flute shattered against the marble floor, and Destiny Coleman felt the cold liquid dripping down her face, mixing with something worse, her own tears of humiliation. The entire restaurant held its breath as Victoria's manicured hand connected with Destiny's cheek, the sharp crack echoing through the opulent dining room like a gunshot. "You pathetic little thief," Victoria hissed, her diamond engagement ring catching the light as she raised her hand again. "Did you really think you could steal from me?" But Destiny's eyes weren't on the woman who had just assaulted her. They were locked on the man rising slowly from his chair, his steel-grey eyes darkening to the color of a winter storm. Nikolai Petrov's expression was utterly blank, which somehow made him more terrifying than if he'd been visibly angry. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Victoria was still speaking, still accusing, still making a scene. But she hadn't noticed yet, hadn't seen what everyone else had suddenly realized. The most dangerous man in the city wasn't looking at the diamond bracelet she claimed had been stolen. He was looking at the tears on Destiny's caramel-colored cheek, and something in his expression promised that nothing would ever be the same. 3 hours earlier, Destiny Coleman checked her reflection in the staff bathroom mirror one last time, smoothing down her crisp white button-down shirt and adjusting her black slacks. Her natural curls were pulled back into a neat bun, and she'd applied just enough makeup to look polished without being too made up. Professional, invisible. Exactly what a waitress at Elysium, the most exclusive restaurant in the city, needed to be. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Miles asking for you. Says he misses his mama." Destiny's heart clenched. Her 4-year-old son was the reason she worked double shifts, the reason she smiled through rude customers and aching feet, the reason she was here instead of tucking him in for his afternoon nap. "Tell him Mama will bring him pancakes tomorrow," she texted back. "Love you both." She couldn't afford pancakes, not really, but she'd make it work. She always did. Coleman, her manager Richard, stuck his head through the door. "VIP section, table 7. And for God's sake, don't screw this up. The client specifically requested our best server." Destiny's stomach dropped. The VIP section meant important people. Important people meant generous tips or devastating complaints that could cost her this job. She couldn't afford to lose another job. "I've got this," she said, projecting confidence she didn't feel. The VIP section was on the top floor, separated from the main dining room by floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. As Destiny stepped into the private elevator, she caught sight of her reflection again. "You belong here," she told herself. "You're just as good as anyone else." But the moment the elevator doors opened, she knew she was wrong. The man sitting at table 7 didn't just command the room, he dominated it. Nikolai Petrov was taller than she'd expected, his broad shoulders filling out a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her car. His dark hair was swept back from a face that could have been carved from granite, sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw, and those eyes. Steel grey and utterly cold, they swept over her with the clinical precision of a predator assessing prey. Next to him sat a woman who could have stepped out of a fashion magazine. Blonde, beautiful, and dripping with diamonds, she was laughing at something on her phone, completely ignoring the man beside her. "Good evening," Destiny said, her voice steady despite her thundering heart. "My name is Destiny, and I'll be—" Finally, the blonde woman, Victoria, according to the reservation, interrupted without looking up. "We've been waiting forever. I'll have the cristal, and he'll have vodka. Russian, neat, obviously." Destiny's professional smile didn't waver. "Of course. And for dinner, we'll order when we're ready." Victoria waved her hand dismissively, her enormous engagement ring flashing. "Just bring the drinks. Sometime today would be nice." Nikolai Petrov hadn't spoken. He was still watching Destiny with those unsettling grey eyes, his expression unreadable. She had the strangest feeling he was seeing more than just a waitress, that somehow he was looking straight through her carefully constructed professional mask to the exhausted single mother beneath. "Right away," Destiny said, retreating before her composure could crack. In the service station, she leaned against the counter, willing her hands to stop shaking. She'd served difficult customers before. This was nothing new, except for the way Nikolai Petrov had looked at her, Like she mattered. Like she was someone worth noticing. "Stop it," she told herself sharply. "He's engaged, he's dangerous, and you're just here to serve drinks and collect tips." But when she returned with the crystal and the vodka, she found herself glancing at him again. This time his eyes were on Victoria, who was speaking rapidly into her phone in what sounded like French. There was no warmth in his expression, no affection, just coldness. "Your vodka, sir," Destiny said softly, placing the glass in front of him. His fingers brushed hers as he reached for it, barely a touch, but it sent electricity racing up her arm. His eyes snapped to hers, and for a moment something flickered in those grey depths. Surprise, recognition. It was gone before she could identify it. "Thank you," he said. His voice was deep, accented, and sent shivers down her spine. "You're welcome," she managed. Victoria ended her call and grabbed her champagne flute. "Finally, now Nikolai, about the wedding venue. We'll discuss it later," he said, his tone making it clear the subject was closed. Victoria's perfectly made-up face tightened with irritation, but she plastered on a smile. "Of course, darling, whatever you want." Destiny retreated to the corner of the VIP section, available but unobtrusive. She tried not to stare, but it was impossible not to notice the dynamics at the table. Victoria talked constantly, about wedding plans, about her friends, about some charity gala. Nikolai barely responded, his attention seemingly focused on his vodka. But twice Destiny caught him looking at her, and each time her pulse raced. An hour passed. Victoria ordered a second bottle of Cristal. Nikolai ordered another vodka, and finally dinner, a ribeye rare. Victoria wanted the lobster and spent 10 minutes explaining exactly how it should be prepared. Destiny was placing their entrees on the table when Victoria's phone rang again. "Oh, it's Svetlana," Victoria squealed. "I have to take this. She's calling about the bridesmaids' dresses." She stood up, wobbling slightly on her designer heels. "I'll be right back, darling." And then Destiny was alone with Nikolai Petrov. The silence stretched between them, heavy and charged. Destiny busied herself adjusting his silverware, even though it was already perfect. "You have a son," Nikolai said suddenly. Destiny's head snapped up. "How did you—" "You checked your phone 3 times in the last hour. Each time you smiled. And there's a small handprint on your bag. Paint, I think. Blue." She glanced down at her purse, and sure enough, there was Miles's handprint from their painting session last weekend. She'd meant to clean it off but hadn't had time. "He's 4, she heard herself say. "His name is Miles. You work hard for him." It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. "Every day." Something shifted in Nikolai's expression, a crack in that icy facade. "That makes you dangerous." "Dangerous?" She almost laughed. "I'm a waitress." "No." His grey eyes bore into hers. "You're a mother who would do anything for her child. There is nothing more dangerous than that kind of love." Before Destiny could respond, Victoria returned, her phone clutched in her hand and her expression stormy. "I cannot believe Svetlana," she announced. "She wants to wear ivory to my wedding. Ivory. Can you imagine the audacity?" She threw herself into her chair with enough force to jostle the table. Her champagne flute tipped, spilling golden liquid across the white tablecloth and directly onto her diamond bracelet. Victoria shrieked. "My bracelet! It's ruined!" She glared at Destiny. "You bumped the table." "I didn't," Destiny started, but Victoria was already on her feet. "I saw you. You deliberately knocked my drink over." Victoria's voice was rising, drawing attention from the few other VIP tables. "And now, where is it? Where is my bracelet?" "Ma'am, your bracelet is right there." Destiny pointed to where it lay on the table, champagne-soaked, but clearly visible. "Not that one." Victoria's eyes were wild now. "My tennis bracelet, the one Nikolai gave me. It was on the table and now it's gone." Destiny's blood ran cold. "I didn't take—" "She's a thief!" Victoria screamed. "She stole my bracelet. Someone call security. Miss Victoria, please." Richard had appeared, his face pale. "Let's not make a scene." "A scene? She stole a $50,000 bracelet." Victoria spun toward Nikolai. Tell them to search her." Nikolai hadn't moved. He sat perfectly still, his vodka glass halfway to his lips, watching the chaos unfold with those cold grey eyes. "Nikolai!" Victoria shrieked. "Say something!" He set down his glass with deliberate care. Then he stood, and the entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. "Search her," he said quietly. The words hit Destiny like a physical blow. She looked at him, at the man who'd noticed her son's handprint, who'd understood her fierce love, and saw nothing but ice. "Turn out your pockets," Richard said, his voice miserable. "I'm sorry, Destiny, but—" "I didn't steal anything," Destiny said, her voice shaking, but she turned out her pockets anyway, showing they were empty. "Her bag," Victoria demanded. "Check her bag." Destiny handed over her purse, her hands trembling. Richard dumped the contents onto an empty table. Wallet, phone, keys, lip balm, a crumpled drawing from Miles, loose change, no bracelet. "She must have hidden it somewhere," Victoria insisted. "Check." Enough. Nikolai's voice wasn't loud, but it cut through Victoria's hysteria like a blade. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a diamond tennis bracelet, dangling it from his fingers. "You left it in the car," he said to Victoria. "I found it when I went to get your phone charger." The VIP section went dead silent. Victoria's face cycled through confusion, embarrassment, and finally rage, but instead of apologizing, she turned on Destiny with pure venom. "She still could have taken it if it had been here. Look at her. People like that are always stealing." The slap came out of nowhere. Victoria's open palm connected with Destiny's cheek, with enough force to snap her head to the side. Pain exploded across her face, and she tasted blood where her tooth had cut her inner lip. "You need to learn your place," Victoria hissed. Destiny stood frozen, her cheek throbbing, tears of humiliation burning in her eyes. The entire restaurant was staring. Richard looked horrified but helpless. And Nikolai. Nikolai Petrov rose from his chair with the slow, deliberate movement of a predator preparing to strike. "What," he said softly, "did you just do? What will Nikolai do to Victoria for humiliating Destiny? Will he defend the woman who served him or stand by his fiancée? The most powerful man in the city is about to make a choice that will change everything. Keep watching to discover what happens when a mafia boss witnesses an injustice he cannot ignore." The silence that followed Nikolai's question was suffocating. Victoria seemed to realize, finally, that she'd made a mistake. Her hand, the one that had struck Destiny, dropped to her side. "Nikolai, darling, you were just leaving," he said. His voice was still quiet, but there was something underneath it now, something that made the hair on the back of Destiny's neck stand up. "Take your things, get out of my sight." "What? No!" Victoria's voice rose to a shriek. "She's nobody. She's just a—" "If you finish that sentence," Nikolai interrupted, "I will make you regret it for the rest of your considerably shortened life." The threat was delivered in the same calm tone he might use to order coffee. That made it infinitely more terrifying. Victoria's face went pale. "You can't be serious. Over some waitress?" Nikolai pulled his phone from his pocket and pressed a single button. "Anton VIP section now." Within 30 seconds, 2 men in dark suits appeared. They looked like they could bench press a car, and they moved with the fluid efficiency of trained soldiers. "Ms. Volkov requires an escort out of the building," Nikolai said. "Make sure she leaves quietly." "I am your fiancée," Victoria shrieked. "You gave me this ring." Nikolai's expression didn't change. "That ring is property of the Petrov family. You'll return it before you leave." "You're making a mistake." Victoria's voice was venomous now. "My father will—" "Your father," Nikolai said softly, "owes me $3 million and the continued existence of his shipping company. If you'd like me to call in both debts, by all means, continue threatening me." Victoria's face crumpled. For a moment she looked like she might cry. Then rage twisted her features into something ugly. She yanked the engagement ring off her finger and threw it at Nikolai. It bounced off his chest and clattered to the floor. "You'll regret this," she spat. Then, to Destiny, "And you have no idea what you've done, you stupid—" Anton stepped forward, and Victoria's words died in her throat. She turned and stalked toward the elevator. the security guards flanking her like prison guards. The moment the elevator doors closed, the VIP section erupted in whispers. Destiny stood frozen, her hand pressed to her burning cheek, trying to process what had just happened. Nikolai Petrov had just ended his engagement. Over her, a waitress he'd met 2 hours ago. Destiny. His voice pulled her back to the present. She looked up to find him standing directly in front of her, close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his grey eyes. "Are you hurt?" he asked. The gentle tone undid something in her. "I'm fine," she lied, but her voice cracked on the words. Nikolai's jaw tightened. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and gently tilted her chin up, examining her cheek. His fingers were warm against her skin, and Destiny's breath caught. "You're bleeding," he said, touching the corner of her mouth where her lip had split. "It's nothing. It's assault." His thumb brushed across her cheekbone, impossibly gentle for a man who radiated such danger. "And she will answer for it." "Please," Destiny said, finding her voice. "Please, just let it go. I just want to forget this ever happened." "Do you?" Nikolai's eyes searched hers. "Or do you want justice?" Justice. The word hung between them, weighted with meaning. How many times had Destiny been disrespected, dismissed, treated as less than human? How many times had she swallowed her anger and her pride because she needed the job, needed the money, needed to survive? "I want to go home to my son," she whispered. Something flickered across Nikolai's face, an emotion she couldn't name. He stepped back, reached into his jacket, and pulled out a business card and a stack of bills. "This is for your trouble tonight," he said, pressing the money into her hand. It felt like at least $1,000. "And this," he handed her the card, "is my private number. If Victoria or anyone else retaliates against you, for any reason, you call me immediately." Destiny stared at the plain black card with silver lettering. Just a name and a phone number. No title, no company. Just Nikolai Petrov. "I can't accept this much money." She tried to hand the bills back, but he closed her fingers around them. "For Miles," he said. "Buy him those pancakes." Her eyes snapped to his. "How did you—" "I pay attention, Destiny Coleman." He said her name like he was tasting it. "Remember that." Richard appeared, looking anxious and apologetic. "Destiny, I'm so sorry about all this. Why don't you take the rest of the night off?" "Paid," he added quickly. Destiny nodded numbly. She gathered her belongings with shaking hands, hyper-aware of Nikolai's gaze following her every movement. As she headed toward the elevator, she heard Richard say, "Mr. Petrov, about your dinner." "I've lost my appetite," Nikolai replied. "Have the ribeye packed to go, and the lobster. Actually, pack everything on your dessert menu as well." "Of course, sir, right away." Destiny didn't understand why he was ordering so much food, until she reached the ground floor and found Anton waiting with several large bags. "Mr. Petrov insists," the massive bodyguard said, his accent thick and Russian. "For you and your son." "I can't. This is too much." "Mr. Petrov," Anton said carefully, "is not a man who takes no for an answer, especially when he has decided to be generous." He paused, then added in a lower voice, "I have 3 daughters. What that woman did to you, Mr. Petrov was right to end it. You take the food. You take care of your boy." Destiny's eyes burned with tears she refused to shed in front of this stranger. "Thank you," she managed. "No thanks needed." "But Miss Coleman," Anton's expression turned serious, "be careful. Mr. Petrov is complicated man. And now he has noticed you. This is good thing and dangerous thing." "I'm never going to see him again," Destiny said, trying to convince herself as much as Anton. The bodyguard's smile was sad. "You are an intelligent woman. You know that is not true." Destiny's mother was waiting up when she got home to their small 2-bedroom apartment in the Bronx. The contrast between Elysium's marble floors and her building's cracked linoleum had never felt more stark. "Baby, what happened to your face?" Her mother, Patricia, was on her feet immediately, pulling Destiny into the kitchen light. "It's nothing, Mama. Just a difficult customer." "Nothing," Patricia's eyes flashed. "Someone hit you?" "It's handled." Destiny set the bags of food on the counter. "Look, I brought dinner." Enough for a week, probably. Patricia's anger transformed into confusion as she opened the bags. Destiny Marie Coleman, is this lobster and ribeye, and about 6 different desserts? How did you steal this? No. Destiny pulled out the cash Nikolai had given her. A customer gave me a huge tip and insisted I take the food. That's all. It wasn't all. But how could she explain what had happened? How could she put into words the way Nikolai Petrov had looked at her, like she was something precious instead of invisible? Patricia counted the money, her eyes widening. Destiny, this is almost $2,000. I know. What kind of customer? Her mother's expression turned suspicious. This was a man, wasn't it? Mama? A rich man who noticed my beautiful daughter, and now he thinks he can buy... It's not like that, Destiny said. Then, more quietly, it's not. His fiancée accused me of stealing, then hit me when she couldn't prove it. He defended me, ended his engagement right there in the restaurant. Patricia sank into a chair. Oh, baby. I'm never going to see him again, Destiny said firmly. I'll deposit the money tomorrow, use it to catch up on bills. That's it. End of story. But even as she said it, she could feel the weight of Nikolai's business card in her pocket, burning against her hip like a brand. Her mother studied her face. You like him? I don't even know him. That's not what I asked. Destiny looked away. It doesn't matter. He's not. People like him don't end up with people like me. People like him. Patricia's voice sharpened. You mean rich people, white people? Dangerous people, Mama. Destiny met her mother's eyes. There was something about him. The way people looked at him, the way they jumped when he spoke. He's not just rich, he's something else. Then you stay far away, Patricia said firmly. You've got Miles to think about. I know. But that night, lying in bed while Miles snored softly in his toddler bed next to hers, Destiny couldn't stop thinking about steel grey eyes and the gentle touch of dangerous hands on her face. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. I trust you made it home safely. NP Destiny stared at the message. She should delete it. Block the number. Forget this whole insane night ever happened. Instead, she found herself typing, Yes, thank you for everything. The response came immediately. You have nothing to thank me for. I merely corrected an injustice. You did more than that. No, Destiny. I did the bare minimum of what any decent person should do. Sleep well, and lock your doors. The last line sent a chill down her spine. Was it a threat, a warning, or just the automatic caution of a man who lived in a dangerous world? Why did you really end your engagement? She typed before she could think better of it. This time the pause before his response was longer, because Victoria showed me who she truly is, and because I realized I was about to marry someone I despise. You didn't know that before tonight. I knew. I chose to ignore it. But watching her strike you, I could ignore it no longer. Destiny's fingers hovered over her keyboard. She should stop this conversation, should put down her phone and go to sleep and pretend none of this had happened. Why do you care what happens to me? She typed instead. The 3 dots indicating he was typing appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I don't know, but I do. Sweet dreams, Destiny Coleman. She clutched her phone to her chest, her heart racing. Anton's words echoed in her mind. Now he has noticed you. This is good thing and dangerous thing. Destiny had a terrible feeling she was about to find out just how dangerous. Nikolai Petrov has ended his engagement and given Destiny his private number. But what does the most dangerous man in the city really want from a struggling single mother? And what will happen when Victoria discovers she's been replaced? The game has only just begun, and the stakes are about to get much, much higher. Continue watching to see how a simple text message will change both of their lives forever. 3 days passed without any contact from Nikolai, and Destiny told herself she was relieved. She used his money to pay 2 months' rent in advance, bought Miles new shoes that actually fit, and stocked their refrigerator properly for the first time in months. She went back to work at Elysium, where Richard had given her the prime evening shifts as an apology for what happened. The tips were better, but every time the elevator doors opened to the VIP section, her heart raced. Nikolai never appeared. "You're distracted," her co-worker Jennifer observed on Thursday night. "Waiting for someone." "No," Destiny lied. "Uh-huh. Does this have anything to do with the hot Russian who broke up with his fiancée over you?" News traveled fast in the restaurant world. Destiny had heard at least 5 different versions of what happened that night, each more dramatic than the last. In one version, she'd been caught sleeping with Nikolai. In another, Victoria had pulled a gun. The truth was somehow both more mundane and more unbelievable. "He was just being decent," Destiny said. Jennifer snorted. "Honey, men like Nikolai Petrov don't do decent without wanting something in return." The words stung because Destiny had thought the same thing. So why hadn't he called? Why give her his number and then disappear? She got her answer when she left work that night. A black Mercedes SUV was parked in front of the restaurant, and Anton was leaning against it, looking like a boulder in a suit. "Miss Coleman," he greeted her. "Mr. Petrov requests your presence." Destiny's stomach dropped. "I'm tired, Anton. I just want to go home." Mr. Petrov anticipated this response. "He asked me to tell you it concerns your safety." "My safety." Anton's expression turned grim. "Victoria Volkov has been making threats. Mr. Petrov would like to discuss additional security measures." "Additional security? I don't need security." "With respect, Miss Coleman, you do not get to make that determination." Anton opened the car door. "Please, 10 minutes of your time." Destiny thought about Miles, asleep at her mother's apartment, about how much she had to lose. "Fine, 10 minutes." The Mercedes smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Anton drove in silence through the city, and Destiny watched the neighborhoods change from commercial to residential to something else entirely. The kind of area where you couldn't see the houses from the road because of the walls and gates. They pulled up to a mansion that looked like something from a movie. All glass and steel and modern architecture, lit up against the night sky like a monument to wealth. "Mr. Petrov is waiting on the terrace," Anton said, opening her door. Destiny followed him through a house that was more art gallery than home. Everything was clean lines and expensive minimalism. No family photos. No personal touches. It was beautiful and utterly cold. The terrace overlooked the city, a sprawling view of lights that made Destiny's breath catch. And there, standing at the railing with a glass of vodka, was Nikolai. He turned when he heard her footsteps, and the intensity of his gaze nearly made her stumble. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Anton said Victoria was making threats." Anton exaggerated to ensure your cooperation. Nikolai's lips curved in something that might have been a smile, though she has been vocal about her displeasure. "You lied to get me here." "I needed to see you." He said it simply, like it was obvious. "And I knew you wouldn't come otherwise." Destiny's anger warred with something else, something warm and dangerous that bloomed in her chest at his words. "You can't just summon me like—" "I'm aware," he interrupted, "which is why I'm asking, not ordering. Stay. Have a drink. Let me explain." "Explain what?" "Why I gave you space these last 3 days. Why I'm breaking every rule I've ever lived by." He set down his glass and moved closer. "Why I can't stop thinking about a woman I barely know." Destiny's breath caught. "Mr. Petrov," "Nikolai," he corrected. "You've haunted my thoughts for 72 hours, Destiny. I think we're past formalities." "This is insane," she whispered. "You don't know me, I don't know you. Then let's fix that." He gestured to a seating area with a low couch and chairs. "Ask me anything." Destiny knew she should leave, should run from this powerful, dangerous man who looked at her like she was something rare and precious. But instead, she found herself sinking onto the couch. "Why did you really break your engagement?" she asked. Nikolai sat across from her, his elbows on his knees, his grey eyes serious. "Because Victoria showed me what I'd become. A man who'd marry someone he didn't love, didn't respect, didn't even like, all for political connections and business advantages." He paused. "And because when she hit you, I wanted to kill her. Not metaphorically. I genuinely considered the logistics of making her disappear. That's—" Destiny didn't know whether to be horrified or thrilled. "Insane," Nikolai supplied. "Yes, which is why I gave you space. to determine if my reaction was aberration or something else. And it's something else. He reached for his vodka, took a long drink. Tell me about Miles. The change of subject threw her. What about him? Everything. I want to know everything. So Destiny found herself talking. About Miles's obsession with dinosaurs, about how he insisted on wearing his Superman cape to daycare, about the way he said, "I love you, Mama," every night before bed, like it was the most important thing in the world. Nikolai listened with an intensity that was almost unnerving, asking questions, really hearing her answers. And somehow, the conversation shifted. Destiny found herself asking about his childhood in Russia, about how he'd built his empire, about what he did with his time besides run what she was increasingly certain was a criminal organization. "You know what I am," Nikolai said eventually. It wasn't a question. "I have suspicions. And yet you're still here." "I have a 4-year-old and 2 jobs," Destiny said. "I don't scare easily." His smile was genuine this time, transforming his face from cold to devastatingly handsome. "No, I don't imagine you do." They talked until Destiny noticed the city lights were fading against a lightening sky. She'd been there for hours. "I need to go," she said, standing abruptly. "Miles will be up soon and Let me drive you," Nikolai offered. "I can take the subway." "At 5 in the morning?" His expression hardened. "No." They didn't speak during the ride to her apartment, but Destiny was hyper-aware of Nikolai beside her in the back seat, of the way his hand rested on the seat between them, so close she could feel its heat. When they pulled up to her building, Nikolai looked at the cracked sidewalk and graffitied walls with an expression she couldn't read. "Thank you for tonight," Destiny said, reaching for the door handle. "Destiny." His hand caught hers, and electricity raced up her arm. "I want to see you again." "This can't happen," she whispered. "You know that." "Why?" "Because you're you, and I'm me, and our worlds don't—" "I don't care about worlds." His thumb stroked across her knuckles. "I care about the fact that you make me want to be something other than what I am. That when I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to be human instead of—" He cut himself off, but Destiny heard what he didn't say. "Instead of a monster. I have a son," she said. "I can't bring danger into his life." "Then I'll make sure there is no danger." Nikolai's grip tightened. "Let me protect you, both of you." "Why?" The word came out broken. "Why me?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But from the moment I saw you, something shifted. Like I'd been waiting for you without knowing it." Destiny should pull away, should say no, should protect herself and Miles from whatever this was. Instead, she heard herself say, "One more night. Let me think about it." Relief flashed across Nikolai's face. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles that sent heat flooding through her. "One more night. But Destiny? I'm not a patient man. And I've decided you're mine." The possessiveness should have terrified her. Instead, it made her feel safe for the first time in years. She was in so much trouble. Destiny made it to her apartment, kissed her still sleeping son and collapsed on her bed. She was drifting off when her phone buzzed. A news alert. Shipping company, owned by Volkov family files for bankruptcy. Below it, a text from Nikolai. "I told Victoria's father to stay out of my business. He didn't listen. Sleep well, beautiful." Destiny stared at the messages, her heart pounding. Nikolai had destroyed a company, ruined a family, because they'd threatened him, because of her. She should be horrified. She should block his number and never look back. Instead, she saved his contact with a heart emoji and fell asleep with her phone clutched to her chest, dreaming of steel-grey eyes and dangerous promises. Nikolai Petrov has declared Destiny as his, and he's already destroyed those who stood against him. But what will happen when Victoria discovers the real reason for her family's downfall? And how will Destiny protect her son from a world of violence and power? The passion is just beginning, but so is the danger. Keep watching to discover what happens when a mafia boss decides nothing, and no one will keep him from the woman he wants. The call came at 2 a.m. on Saturday. Destiny was in the middle of her shift at her second job, a late-night diner in Queens, when her phone rang, her mother's number. "Mama, what's wrong?" "Destiny, baby, don't panic." Her heart stopped. "Where's Miles?" "He's fine, he's right here, he's safe, but—" Patricia's voice cracked. "There was a woman here, at the apartment. She was banging on the door, screaming your name." "What woman?" "Blonde. Fancy clothes. She was drunk, I think, or high on something. She said—" Patricia lowered her voice, but Destiny could hear the fear. "She said she was going to make you pay for ruining her life. That you were a home-wrecking whore who didn't know your place." "Victoria, did she hurt you? Did she hurt Miles?" "No, the building super called the police. She ran before they got here. But Destiny, she knew where we lived. She knew about Miles." Destiny's hands were shaking so hard she almost dropped the phone. "Lock the doors. Don't let anyone in. I'm coming right now." She hung up and grabbed her purse, her mind racing. Victoria knew where her mother lived, knew about Miles, which meant Destiny's baby was in danger because of her. She made it 3 steps before her phone rang again. "Nikolai." "Don't hang up," he said before she could speak. "Anton just informed me about the incident at your mother's apartment." "How did you— Are you having me followed?" "I'm having you protected," Nikolai corrected. "Anton was stationed outside your mother's building. He witnessed the entire confrontation and has already given a statement to the police." Destiny stopped walking. "You've been watching my family." "Protecting," he repeated. "There's a difference." "Not to me, there isn't." "Destiny." His voice softened. "Victoria is unstable. Her father's company collapsed, her engagement ended, and she blames you for all of it. I knew she would retaliate. I was trying to prevent this." "Well, you failed." Tears burned her eyes. "She knows about my son, Nikolai, my 4-year-old son. Because of me, because of us, he's in danger. Which is why you and Miles are moving into my home tonight." "What? No." "This is not a request." Steel entered his voice. "Anton is already packing your mother's apartment. A second team is at yours. You will stay with me where I can keep you safe. You can't just—" "I can, and I am. Victoria violated a direct order to stay away from you. That requires consequences." The way he said consequences made Destiny's blood run cold. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing you need to concern yourself with." "Nikolai, trust me, Destiny. Please, let me protect you." She wanted to argue, wanted to maintain her independence and her pride. But then she thought of Miles's little face, his trusting smile, the way he held her hand when he was scared. "Just for tonight," she whispered, "until we figure something else out." "Of course," Nikolai said, but she could hear the satisfaction in his voice. "Anton will bring you to the house. I'll have rooms prepared for you and your family." 2 hours later, Destiny stood in Nikolai's massive guest wing with Miles asleep in her arms and her mother looking around with wide eyes. "Baby," Patricia whispered, "this man has more money than God." "I know, Mama. And he's dangerous." "I know. But he's protecting my grandson." Patricia's voice softened. "So I guess I can't hate him." A throat cleared behind them. Nikolai stood in the doorway, still in his suit despite the late hour. His eyes went immediately to Miles and something in his expression gentled. "There's a nursery down the hall," he said quietly, "fully furnished. I had it prepared when I heard about Victoria's threats." "You have a nursery?" Destiny asked. "Do you have children?" "No." His gaze met hers. "But you do." The implication hung in the air. He'd prepared a nursery for Miles, for her son, because she mattered to him. Patricia cleared her throat. "I'm going to unpack. Destiny, maybe you should talk to Mr. Petrov." When they were alone, Nikolai moved closer. "Let me put him in bed properly. He's too heavy for you to hold all night." Before Destiny could protest, Nikolai had gently lifted Miles from her arms. Her son mumbled something about dinosaurs but didn't wake, his head lolling against Nikolai's shoulder. Watching the most dangerous man in the city carry her sleeping child should have been terrifying. Instead, it made Destiny's heart clench with an emotion she wasn't ready to name. The nursery was straight out of a magazine. A beautiful crib, a rocking chair, shelves full of books and toys that still had tags on them. Nikolai laid Miles down with surprising gentleness, pulling a soft blanket over him. "You didn't have to do all this," Destiny whispered. "Yes, I did." Nikolai straightened, and in the dim light of the nursery he looked almost vulnerable. "I told you, Destiny, you're mine to protect. That includes him. He's not your responsibility. Isn't he?" Nikolai's hand came up to cup her cheek, his thumb brushing away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. "When I protect you, I protect what matters to you, and he matters more than anything." "I'm scared," Destiny admitted. "Not of you, of this, of what it means." "It means you're safe. It means Miles is safe. Everything else, we figure out together." "What happened to Victoria?" Nikolai's expression hardened. "She's been escorted to a private facility where she'll receive treatment for her substance abuse issues. She won't be bothering you again." "You can't just lock people up." "I can when they threaten what's mine." His other hand came up to frame her face. "And you are mine, Destiny Coleman. Whether you've accepted it yet or not." She should protest, should push him away, but instead she found herself leaning into his touch, craving his strength. "I'm a waitress with a kid and student loans," she whispered. "What could you possibly want with me?" "Everything," Nikolai said simply. Then he lowered his head and kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was possession and promise and barely restrained hunger. His hands slid into her hair and Destiny melted against him, all her protests forgotten in the heat of his mouth on hers. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "Stay," he said. "Not just tonight. Stay with me. Nikolai, I'll give you space, time, whatever you need. But I'm not letting you go back to that apartment where Victoria found you. I'm not risking your safety or Miles's because you're too proud to accept help." "This isn't just help," Destiny said. "This is... I don't even know what this is." "It's me claiming you," Nikolai said bluntly. "It's me telling you that I will burn down the entire city before I let anyone hurt you again. It's me being selfish enough to want you in my home, in my life, in my bed. I can't, we haven't even, I barely know you." "Then get to know me." His hands tightened on her waist. "Stay. Learn who I am. Let me learn you. And when you're ready, if you're ready, I'll be here." Destiny looked back at Miles sleeping peacefully in a room that cost more than she made in a year. Looked at this powerful, dangerous man who'd turned his entire life upside down for a woman he'd known for less than a week. "1 month," she heard herself say. "Let me stay for 1 month. If it doesn't work..." "It will work," Nikolai said with absolute certainty. "Because I don't fail, Destiny. Especially not at things that matter." He kissed her again, slower this time. And Destiny felt herself falling into something that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. She was playing with fire. But God help her, she'd never felt more alive. The next morning, Destiny woke up in the most comfortable bed she'd ever slept in. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then she heard Miles's laughter echoing through the house, and reality came crashing back. She found him in the kitchen with Nikolai, both of them covered in flour. They were making pancakes. "Mama!" Miles shrieked. "Nikolai is making dinosaur pancakes!" Destiny's heart stopped. Nikolai looked up, and their eyes met across the kitchen. He was in jeans and a t-shirt, flour on his nose, and he'd never looked more human. "I hope you don't mind," he said carefully. "He woke up early, and I heard him crying for you. I thought I'd distract him until you woke up." "Dinosaur pancakes," Miles announced proudly, holding up a lumpy creation that might have been a stegosaurus. Destiny moved into the kitchen on autopilot, unable to process the image of Nikolai Petrov, Mafia boss, feared criminal, dangerous man, making pancakes with her 4-year-old. "Is this okay?" Nikolai asked quietly, and she realized he was genuinely uncertain. "Yeah," she managed, It's okay." Miles proceeded to chatter non-stop about dinosaurs, and Nikolai listened with apparent interest, asking questions that made her son light up with joy, and Destiny realized with terrifying clarity that she was already falling for this man, not because of his money or his power, but because he saw her. really saw her. And more than that, he saw Miles. Not as an obstacle or a burden, but as someone worthy of dinosaur pancakes and patient attention. When her phone rang an hour later with a call from Elysium, Richard informing her that she'd been let go due to budget cuts, Nikolai took the phone from her shaking hand. "This is Nikolai Petrov," he said calmly. "You have 3 hours to reinstate Miss Coleman with a formal apology and a raise, or I will buy your restaurant and fire you instead. Do we understand each other?" He hung up. "You can't," Destiny started. "I already did." Nikolai's expression was fierce. "No one punishes you for my actions. Richard caved to pressure from Victoria's family. That ends now." "I don't want to go back there anyway," Destiny admitted. "I hate that job." "Then quit. Do something you love." "I have bills, which I'll pay. I'm not a charity case." "No," Nikolai agreed. "You're the woman I'm falling in love with. There's a difference." The words hung in the air between them. Miles, oblivious, was drawing dinosaurs at the kitchen table. Patricia had gone to lie down, and Destiny was standing in a kitchen that cost more than her entire apartment building, being told by a Mafia boss that he was falling in love with her. "This is insane," she whispered. "Yes," Nikolai agreed. He moved closer until she could feel the heat of him. "But insanity looks good on us, don't you think? And despite everything, despite the danger, the impossibility, the sheer lunacy of the situation, Destiny found herself laughing. Maybe insanity did look good on them. Maybe this was exactly where she was supposed to be. Nikolai has declared his love, but can a Mafia boss and a single mother really build a life together? And what will happen when Victoria escapes from the facility and returns for revenge? The final chapter will reveal whether love is strong enough to bridge two impossible worlds, or if Destiny and Miles will pay the ultimate price for catching the attention of the most dangerous man in the city. 6 months later, Destiny stood on the terrace where Nikolai had first kissed her, watching the sunset paint the city in shades of gold and rose. In the distance, she could hear Miles shrieking with laughter as Nikolai chased him through the garden, roaring like the dinosaur her son had demanded he be. 6 months. Half a year since her life had changed completely. She'd quit both her jobs, had enrolled in culinary school, fulfilling a dream she'd abandoned when she got pregnant with Miles. Nikolai had insisted on paying for everything, and after weeks of argument, Destiny had finally accepted. Not because she was comfortable with it, but because he'd pointed out that fighting him on every expense was exhausting them both. "Let me take care of you," he'd said. "Not because you need it, but because it makes me happy." And slowly Destiny had learned to let him. Her mother had moved into the guest house, after significant protest and eventual acceptance that yes, this was real, and no, Nikolai wasn't going to get bored and throw them out. Patricia had even started dating Nikolai's head of security, Anton, which Destiny found endlessly amusing. Victoria had tried to cause trouble once more, showing up at the gates with a gun and incoherent threats. She was now in a secure psychiatric facility, getting the help she desperately needed. Nikolai had made sure she'd be there for a long time. "Penny for your thoughts," a voice said behind her. Destiny turned to find Nikolai, Miles riding on his shoulders, both of them grinning. "Just thinking about how much has changed," she admitted. "Regrets." There was vulnerability in Nikolai's eyes, an emotion she saw more often now. "Not a single one." Miles started wiggling. "Down, down! Mama, Nikolai says I can have ice cream." "Did he?" Destiny raised an eyebrow at Nikolai. "Before dinner?" "I said we'd ask Mama," Nikolai corrected, setting Miles on his feet. "And whatever she says goes." "Because I'm the boss," Destiny said, a running joke between them. "Because you're the boss," Nikolai agreed solemnly. Miles ran inside, presumably to beg Patricia for the ice cream Destiny was definitely going to say yes to. When they were alone, Nikolai pulled her into his arms. "I have something for you," he said. "You're always giving me things. This one is different." He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Destiny's breath caught. "Nikolai." "I know it's fast," he said, opening the box to reveal a stunning ring, a deep ruby surrounded by diamonds. "I know we've only been together 6 months, but I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Marry me, Destiny. Let me spend the rest of my life making you happy. Let me be Miles's father, not biologically, but in every way that matters. Tears blurred Destiny's vision. You really want this? All of it? The domestic life, the kid, I want you, Nikolai interrupted. However you come. Whatever that includes. I want Miles's dinosaur pancakes every Saturday. I want your mother's suspicious looks when I forget to call. I want chaotic family dinners and sticky kisses, and a life that's loud and messy and real. He cupped her face. I want everything with you. Yes, Destiny whispered. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Nikolai slid the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did, because somehow, impossibly, they fit perfectly. I love you, she said. I know I don't say it enough. You show me every day. Nikolai kissed her softly. Every morning when you make me coffee. Every night when you fall asleep on my shoulder during movies. Every time you let me into your life a little more. I feel it, Destiny. Your love is the most precious thing I've ever been given. Even more precious than your criminal empire, she teased. Infinitely more precious. He was completely serious. You taught me to be human again. To want something more than power and fear. You and Miles gave me a family. A real one. Miles came running back out, Anton and Patricia trailing behind him with knowing smiles. Mama, can I have... He stopped, noticing the ring. Mama, you're sparkly. Nikolai asked me to marry him, Destiny said, picking up her son. What do you think? Should we say yes? Yes, Miles shouted. Then Nikolai can be my daddy for real. Nikolai's expression cracked, raw emotion flooding his eyes. For real, he agreed, his voice rough. If that's what you want, Miles. I want that, Miles announced. Then, more shyly, can I call you Daddy? I would be honored, Nikolai said, and Destiny saw tears on his cheeks, the first time she'd ever seen him cry. Patricia was crying too. Even Anton was suspiciously misty-eyed. Family dinner? Destiny suggested. To celebrate? Family dinner, Nikolai agreed. He pulled them both close, Destiny and Miles, and for the first time in his life, he felt complete. They'd come from different worlds, had overcome impossible odds, had built something beautiful from chaos and danger, and a moment of justice in an upscale restaurant. And as Destiny watched Nikolai swing Miles onto his shoulders again, heading inside to help cook dinner, she knew with absolute certainty this was exactly where she was meant to be, with the man who'd seen her when she was invisible, who'd protected her when she was vulnerable, who'd chosen her, chosen them over everything else. The Mafia boss and the waitress, the most